my own journey, the biggest set of reforms happened in the year 1991 under the leadership of Narasimha Rao and Manmohan Singh. And it was a moment of huge, I would say, I really felt so good when I heard the set of reforms which were unleashed. And because it unleashed a lot of corporate energy, a lot of things in terms of licensing and many other areas where we were bound by the government regulation just got freed up and just unleashed a huge entrepreneurial energy into the system. Our rating internationally also improved. And to me, that first set of reforms in 1990 have been the biggest set of reforms in our journeys since independence. And post that, we've gone on seeing under different set of governments, reforms continuing. Reforms relating to direct taxes, tax rates going down, reforms relating to indirect taxes, GST, insolvency laws. In some cases, the execution could have been a little better, but nonetheless, the journey is continuing. It has to continue. It's not we don't have a station where the train has to stop. It has to continue. If we don't continue reform, then I think there will be a setback. And there have been many areas where reforms have been identified. And if I had to single out these areas, it is, I think, judicial reforms comes almost on top because our judiciary system needs to be reformed. The delays in giving judgments, the long drawn kind of waiting period is really hurting. The other areas which have been identified through the ease of doing business, whether it's administrative reforms or even police reforms. So there are many areas where reforms can still happen. The government also has taken initiative in the area of labor reforms and agricultural reforms, which for whatever reason have got stalled. But I personally think that journey on reforms have to continue. Okay, there may be in some cases, there may be some mistakes because it's difficult to predict what will happen. But by and large, I'm in favor of reforms continuing on a perpetual basis. But then only India will be freed and we will improve our ranking in terms of ease of doing business. That will still generate far more entrepreneurial energies. And ultimately, entrepreneurs have to drive growth in the country. You can't expect the public sector to drive growth if the entrepreneurial journey is far more independent, it's less dependent on the government. It will just unleash a lot of entrepreneurial energy, and that will drive economic growth for us. It will drive urbanization. It will drive consumer demand, and we need that. And it will drive job growth because with such a large country and such a large dependence on youth, if we don't do reforms, I fear we may have social unrest. If we do it, we'll be very well placed in terms of being a global superpower. And I think there is no answer to not doing reform. We have to do reforms, and we have to manage to look at all the stakeholders which are in this journey. But the journey has to continue. And there is we have done a lot in the past, but a lot more needs to be done. And if you are able to do that, I'm quite sure India will be almost on top of the world in the next 10 years.